We welcome in the Director of Content for Elite Prospects. Missed him last week. He was coming back from the World Juniors, our friend Mr. Cam Robinson. Happy New Year. How are you?
I'm doing well, boys. Happy New Year to you as well. Missed our chat last week, so happy to catch up.
Yeah, we missed you as well. It's funny, Cam, because in all this talk of Pettersson and Miller, let's not forget whose team this is. It's Quinn Hughes' team. Like, he's the captain. He should run the room. I understand you're hearing something about Hughes and his place in all of this between Miller and Pettersson.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a great point to bring up, too, is that, everybody kind of thought it was either going to be Miller or Pettersson who was going to get the C when it was kind of up for grabs there as a jump ball. And I think a lot of people were surprised that it was Quinn Hughes. And I think that his time wearing the C here has really emphasized what an excellent choice that was to give him the captaincy. But yeah, we know that the NHL, they have their own little MSN Messenger board circa 2002 where they chat. And I have had some people reach out to me and just say that Pettersson isn't the only star on that team who is fed up with JT Miller. And I don't know if we have a running count going on right now, but by my estimation, there's only one other star on the Canucks, and that's Quinn Hughes. And so it's, JT, he's kind of like some of these hard-nosed, old-school coaches that we've seen in the past. Tortorella, Iron Mike Keenan, right? Like, they have this really strong impact early on. And, they have a short shelf life. Is that message sometimes it wears thin on some players that don't have kind of live at that same vibration that they do. And we saw, JT, he ran out of steam in New York after, a shouting match with Henrik Lundqvist. You don't mess with the king. I mean, he was a cap casualty in Tampa Bay. I don't think there was any issue there in Tampa Bay, but he's a highly passionate player, and I think that's what makes him so, impactful on the ice. It makes him a good player. But I also think it does start to wear thin in the dressing room. And if this is the case, and if it's not just, whispers they're being made up on around NHL circles to kind of spearhead potential trades, is that, I do believe that there is some validity in that. We know that Quinn Hughes and Pettersson and Besser, they're tight knit and they have similar personalities. They're not loud and boisterous and they're not great in that regard. And JT doesn't really fit in that mold. And it doesn't mean that all those type of personalities can't coexist in a dressing room, but sometimes it does. And so it's just something that came across my desk that I thought was pretty noteworthy, because Quinn does seem like he's just kind of that quiet guy who takes everything in and assesses and then makes his own decisions. But he's in this position, and the team has obviously had a lot of drama going on, and that's on the captain too, to try to mitigate that and to try to smooth things over. And if he's fed up with JT as well, I think that's just another kind of dagger in this situation.
Second Yellow Brick Road reference yesterday from Quinn Hughes. I don't think we need to do a deep dive on the Wizard of Oz plots, themes, and characters.
I like the commentators have said it's clear he's watched Wicked.
Yes.
Yes. Theatrical
It's quite possible. But there are some internal squabbles within the group, Dorothy et al., on the road. Do you think that's his way of sort of saying, I got this, that, this is going to be a journey, but I'm in charge here?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the energy he's put out there from day one, right? Is that they want to keep it in the room, and it's like, but it's bled out and it's become an issue and it's a talking point, and it's something that, you guys have been around NHL dressing rooms, is that they can say they don't listen to the media, they don't go on social media all they want. It permeates, right? It gets into everybody's world. The wives are talking about it, kids are talking about it. It's just something you have to deal with. And this has obviously been just a dark cloud that's been hanging over the team. And not to say that this is 100% on JT Miller, right? Like there are different personalities that are not mixing well, and maybe Pettersson didn't take some of the criticisms as well as he should have too, and maybe that's coming from Quinn too, right? Like I'm sure, and Pettersson said it himself, is that he hasn't played up to expectations. He knows that too, so maybe he's hearing it from other guys too. But it's just, this is Quinn's team. He does at some point have to put his foot down. It's Talkett's team too. It's kind of shut up and play, boys. Like everything goes away if you play well. And I'm sure that they'll get off each other's backs too. And so we see Pettersson is starting to, ramp up that kind of dynamic two-way ability that he has. We're starting to see that elevate up, while we're also starting to see JT's minutes kind of slide down a little bit too, and his impact on the game. So it's they got to find a balance where if they're both rolling, this whole story goes away, I think. But there is, when there is smoke, there's often fire too. So I think the trade stuff is still real.
The things, for sure, some we're going to monitor between now and the deadline in March, not to mention in the off season if nothing comes to pass. But, things do seem like they've settled down here a little bit. And perhaps more importantly for the Vancouver Canucks tactically on a game-by-game basis, they're getting Philip Hronek back. Cam, what can he do for this club?
Massive re-addition, right? And not to say that Hronek's some superstar, but he is a very capable player who can chew up 24 minutes a night. He can kill penalties. He can play on your second power play unit. Quinn loves to play with him. They have nice chemistry together, and it just shifts everybody down the totem pole on that right side into more manageable expectations, more manageable circumstances for them. So, it cannot be understated or overstated how important Hronek is to this team simply because of the lack of depth on the right side and because he's a good quality player too, who has, like I mentioned, that chemistry with Quinn Hughes. So, hopefully he can get up to speed quickly here. I know he was skating with Abbotsford for a couple days, practices there just to try to get the legs going underneath him, but to get airlifted in at the end of a road trip, we'll see how many minutes he gets and how effective he is, but just coming into this month and into the kind of the back half of the season that he's got to stay healthy. That D-core needs a boost no matter what, but this is an internal one that they absolutely needed and should help them mitigate some of these. They need someone who can move the puck up ice that's not Quinn Hughes, right? And so now they have another one of those guys, and Hronek can absolutely do that and hopefully generate some more shots and some more chances and some skating. Yes, absolutely.
Hronek skated in Abbotsford games. Who would say that?
No, I'm sorry. Practices. Yeah. I'm going to be getting a text from the agent here. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and his return. Look, they started this season hoping to generate more rush chances, Cam, and it hasn't really been successful. But you could argue Hronek's been out for a couple of months, and maybe that had something to do with it. We've spent a lot of time here recently talking about Tocchet style of hockey. Look, are they just incapable of rush chances because, especially minus Hronek, they don't have the personnel? And then secondly, it looks like he has adjusted a little bit here and asked them to put more pucks on goal as opposed to, playing for that grade A chance. What do you make of the Canucks stylistically here in the absence, and what could possibly change or improve with Hronek?
You coach with the personnel you have, and when the blue line can't get pucks up ice and generate those rush chances with their feet or to activate in or to make long stretch passes, and when your forward cores, right, you were missing Miller for a good stretch. Pettersson's obviously been battling some injury and some inconsistency, and they really haven't had guys all rolling at the same time, healthy or otherwise, to really generate. But it doesn't mean that you should just shut it right down. I think that obviously Tocchet's just been we will reduce our rush chances because that will in turn, lessen the rush chances against, right? If you have defensemen activating all the time, odds are there's going to be some odd man rushes going back against you some of the time too. And so they've been trying to just seal it all up, slow it all down. But, Chicago Blackhawks are the only team that have fewer shots per game than the Canucks, and it's by 0.1, right? We're talking about a lottery team who picked first and will be picking probably in the top 3 again. They live in the bottom of the league now. And so you have to be able to generate more chances, more shots, even if they're not off the rush. So I think that, Tocchet putting that in there, we need to find a way to get more pucks on net is absolutely, and that's just how you get things going too, right? When things aren't clicking, throw pucks on net. Go crash the paint there and go try to get some dirty goals. It doesn't all have to be bar down snipes where you're walking downhill on the power play or whatever. It's get pucks on net. Good things will sometimes happen, and that can maybe get guys rolling where they can find some of those prettier goals too. But I think with everybody starting to get healthy here, that hopefully they open it up a little bit. And this isn't a run and gun team. They don't want to play fire wagon hockey, but I think they have to sometimes open things up a little bit to generate those chances too.
So without Hronek, Hughes has really just solidified a Hart Trophy campaign. And you can debate what they're doing right now off the bat, put him in the comfort spot, Hronek back with Hughes rather than second pair minutes. I mean, you can debate where that would have been the likely spot for him to land on game 1. But going forward, has Quinn Hughes not proven that he can elevate his game and still be the same old Quinn Hughes even with Tyler Myers? And can Philip Hronek elevate Carson Soucy the same way, or do you just go back to what works?
I think you take a look at both. I think you do. Quinn has been able to put together, there's nobody that's as important to their team as he is. I don't think that's even a debate. But you don't want him to have to drag Tyler Myers or the rest of the team around for 30 minutes a night every single game. You want to,
and 20 games of Myers there is different than asking Myers to do that for 60 games too, right?
Exactly, right? You want Quinn to be at his best in May and June potentially, right? And so if he is gassed and has had to been dragging this team into the fight every single night, you do want him to have some familiarity, some comfort zone with Hronek there. But I absolutely agree with you that it would be nice to have Quinn out there for 30 on the first and have Hronek out there for 25 on your second pair, finding those minutes down the lineup and help spread things out. But that's a luxury, right? Like if you had another right shot defenseman, another top 4 right shot defenseman, legitimate top 4, then absolutely, then you can mix and match and stuff. But at this point, it's Quinn and it's Hronek, and then it's a bunch of bottom pair guys, is in my opinion.
Love your takes on prospects, and Jonathan Lekkerimäki remains that. He is with the big club, skated on the fourth line Saturday in Toronto with Bluger and Di Giuseppe, and we know he can't be all that he can be skating with those two guys. But how do you feel? But they need goals, Cam. So how do you feel about Lekkerimäki as sort of a power play specialist and down lineup guy right now for the Canucks?
I got no problem with it. I think that you can. That's what you do with a player like him right now when everybody's healthy and you have your lines are set for scoring, checking, whatever. Is that I look at like Cole Eiserman at the World Juniors. We were just there. Is that this kid has always played 20 minutes a night, always on the first line, always on the first power play. He's a goal scorer. He gets all these opportunities. He goes to this short tournament, and David Carl goes, you know what? You're going to be our 13th forward. I'm going to pop you out there on the power play, and you're going to score some big goals for us, and you're going to go right back to the bench. And he's like, I got it, coach. And that's exactly what he did. And he was a highly impactful player for them, playing 8-9 minutes a night. And if you can turn Jonathan Lekkerimäki into that right now and just milk all the goals and all the offense out of him without risking any of the defensive side stuff, any of the defensive zone draws, he can take a regular shift in your bottom 6, but you want to put him in those positions to succeed when the offensive chances happen. So maybe there's an icing call in an offensive zone faceoff. Maybe then you slide him up into a top 6 spot and just get him out there with fresh legs and work it around. You get him on your power play. You give him those opportunities to make a difference in a short amount of time on ice. And for a young player who's just finding his legs in the league and maybe isn't quite ready to eat up a full-time role, I think that's a terrific spot for him. But the key is getting him in those spots when he can, and then he has to make good on them too.
There's only so much time for him to be out there and in those prime spots, and you do wonder, like, should Lekkerimäki be in the NHL for the rest of the season, or they're about as healthy as they need to be outside of Joshua. Mm-hmm. Where should he be the rest of the way here?
That's up to him personally. Is that if he wants to be in the NHL, he needs to get 3 shots on goal in 9 minutes, and he needs to score on one of them some nights, right? And if he does that, then he can stay in the NHL. If he's playing 10, 11 minutes a night and he's getting 1 shot and he's not contributing offensively, then he should go back to the minors, because then he can play 16, 17 minutes a night and he can regain that confidence. He can work on some of the other things away from the puck that will make him an effective top 9 skater for the rest of his career. And then when injuries arrive, boom, you bring him back up, and hopefully you can catch lightning in a bottle. So I think it's definitely up to him on how he plays and how he produces, whether or not he stays in the bigs for the rest of the season.
And lastly, Cam, Sawyer Mynio, Canucks prospect with Canada at the World Juniors, wrap his tournament, and he's been traded from Seattle to Calgary in the dub. What does that do for him?
Well, it means he's going to get a longer playoff run, that's for sure. I think he, whether by design or by coaching or whatever, he didn't really get a chance to play his game in Ottawa at the Worlds there. And not a lot of players really showcased their best for Canada at that event. But, he was brought there to kind of be this like mean-spirited, clear the net, bang at the end boards, win puck battles, and be like a physical presence who can then move the puck a little bit too. And whether he was afraid of taking penalties or it just wasn't, he was just being tentative out there. He didn't really play that game. So he didn't show much. He didn't show all that well, I wouldn't say. And a lot of people were pointing out, like, why is a guy like Sawyer Mynio here when we could have Zane Parekh or we could have Carter Yakimchuk? And, like, fair enough, because they had another player like Andrew Gibson. You didn't need to bring 3 Sawyer Mynio type players to that team. But I think that he he held his own in the limited minutes that he had. And now going to the Hitman, he'll play a big role and he'll play the style of play that he wants to play and that he should play. And then, if Canuck fans want to tune in some Hitman games, Calgary's going for it, right? They've been loading up on pieces. They want to go on a deep run and push for Memorial Cup appearance this year. So they're going to be a fun team to watch down the stretch and into the playoffs. And if you want to get a look at what Mynio can actually do, go check him out in club play and don't really judge him on his appearance there at the World Juniors.
Yeah, tons of BC content on the Hitman team, too. This draft-eligible forward, Kindle from Coquitlam. They got their leading scorers from Gibsons. Carson Wetch is there of North Vancouver. And as the aforementioned Yakemchuk, not a British Columbian, but a high pick.
Hey, before you go,
the Ottawa Senators.
How crazy should people be getting over Landon Dupont?
This kid is good. This kid is like exceptional status. He is exceptionally talented. I actually have a video coming out on him that I break down just like, among U16 skaters all time in the Western Hockey League, he's like the third most effective. And I'm talking all skaters. This kid's a defenseman, right? There's no precedent for a U16 guy to be putting up these kind of metrics in the CHL. He is legitimately that good. Like Everett was a bottom feeder last year, and now they're like a legitimate contender. And
a 15-year-old is elevating
right?
Everett.
He is that good. He's that good.
For those who don't know him, he's a 15-year-old right-shot defenseman from Calgary who's playing with the Everett Silvertips and has 43 points in 37 games, tracking to be a first overall in the 27 draft.
That's not even a real year.
He'll be on that World Junior team next year if I have anything to say about it. That's for sure.
I hope so.
Can you imagine 16-year-old defenseman on Team Canada?
Hey, Jay Bouwmeester. Jay Bouwmeester, I think. Yeah, Jay Bow. He was there.
Yeah.
It's been happened before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it will happen again with this young man. Awesome stuff, Cam. Thank you for this. Welcome home. Catch up next week.
Appreciate it, guys.